hello. Welcome to another episode of the Lions Den Podcast. This is episode 'tis the season as we are wrapping up this podcast season. Last podcast of the year, and we'll have lots to talk about. Unfortunately, we're not ending in a good note, but I'm pretty sure you will hear that throughout the whole podcast. If you guys have any thoughts, comments, anything you guys want to share with us, please share with us in the comments. Let us know your thoughts. We'll definitely share on screen and have a conversation. If you guys are watching us via YouTube and Periscope on Twitter, let us know what you think. Tonight, episode 99, Louis, almost 100 episodes. Unfortunately, we're ending it on a very, very bittersweet note. Louis, how are we feeling 3 days post of Sunday?
Hey, at least our 99th episode is the sad one. Our 100th one will, our first episode of the next season will be full of hope and optimism and excitement for what's to come. So at least there's that. I've got a higher high to come down from than the rest of the folks in Club Leon land. No one else is going to care about this, but I went not to one, but two finals this past weekend with the hopes of seeing both of my beloved soccer clubs on this earth play in their respective league finals, a circumstance that will, in all likelihood, never happen again in this lifetime. And so to come and to have them both be lost in a penalty shootouts, I'm not going to lie, it was pretty devastating. And especially all the travel that went in, all the planning that had to be made last minute, all the stress and all the emotions and absolutely everything that went into all of that so that I was able to travel to Portland to see the first ever MLS Cup played in my hometown. Then to be able to get back the next day to Guadalajara for leg 2 of the final at Estadio Jalisco. It was a whirlwind and so much hope, so much excitement, so much anticipation for it to all come crashing down in a span of about 36 hours. Yeah, I wouldn't change anything. I regret nothing. I would have no regrets other than those that would come from not having made the efforts to be live in person for both of these events. But yeah, it's a lot to process, and it's a big mountain to have to come down from. The only way I can really cope is thinking about what's to come, thinking about next season. Believe it or not, Leon's first match, which will actually be Jornada 2 of the Clausura 22, but their first intervention in the Clausura 2022 is exactly 1 month from today. So, just think of it as like a really long fecha FIFA. And pretty soon we'll be back at it, and this will be all a memory. It'll all be behind us, and there will be new things to think about. A whole lot of stuff coming up soon for the club. So yeah, it's painful. It's a heck of a thing, Kari, but what's done is done. What can I say?
I mean, you sound better than I thought you would. So I give you that. I'm still processing it. I didn't get on social media.
Sure. We'll have a chance to get into what all this means and what this season meant, what this season was for the club. I will, it's the context of it. The two finals, for me, my personal context within it is quite devastating, but Leon losing the final on the whole, it doesn't feel as bad as some of our recent endings to seasons. I mean, I'd say I'd go so far as it doesn't feel even as bad as the Morelia loss, or losing a repechaje at home to Toluca, and of course not even close to losing that final in the Clausura 19 with Tigres. Somehow this feels different. Obviously, we were the favorites in this final and should have won it. Futbolísticamente, not talking about any of the extraneous narratives that favored Atlas and the officiating, all that kind of stuff that we can get into if we want to be masochistic. But Futbolisticamente, we should have won that final. We were favored. I'd say we were coming in the hotter team, and we're favored in that final. But considering that, I'd say even 2 months before, we would have just been content to get a home game in the repechaje, and then to go from that to be favored in a final. Somehow it doesn't feel as bad. And also, the first season with a new coach and starting off the season with 2 crushing losses, one in a final, technically in a final, and the other just a blowout loss in the first match of the league season. I think our expectations for the campaign were very, very measured. And then there were a lot of ups and downs and crests and hills and valleys throughout the course of the semester. There were points in the season where if you told us we would be in a final and be favored, nobody would have believed it. So to get to that point and to fall just short, to take it as far as one can possibly take it and just lose on 2 poorly taken penalties. I don't know. Something about this one feels different, not quite as bad as some of the more recent eliminations in Liguillas for the club. I don't know. You guys might feel differently, but that's kind of after a few days of reflection, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Same. I feel like it's been easier to get over this loss than previous losses. There's been some tough losses that we've had. The Morelia one you mentioned, the loss against Tigres, those were like gut-wrenching because we were so good during the regular season and we had been playing such good football under the same coach with the same system for many seasons. And we had high expectations for ourselves. But for this season, like you said, we started the season with a terrible loss at Pachuca 4-0. We all thought it was going to be a bad season, a long season. We thought the boat was going to sink. And yeah, for a new coach to come in to Liga MX and to actually win a final or to win a title in their first season is unheard of. So I think, Holan did a great job. I think it's a learning lesson for everyone, especially the young players and especially Holan and his staff. But it's, I don't know, it doesn't feel as bad as previous losses. I feel like we can get over this and we're gonna get over it and get over the hump. And we have a lot of great things to play for in the coming semesters. So looking forward to that. Congratulations to Atlas, even though there was a lot of conspiracy around how they won it. Could get into that. We may not, but they won nonetheless. I think that they were the better team regardless. Over 180 minutes, I think they were the better team. Just by a little bit, not by a lot. But I think they were the better team. And if you ask me if they deserve to win, yeah, I think they deserve to win. But I don't know if I would say that they deserve to be in the final, especially considering how they got there. But yeah, that's a different conversation. Let's talk about Leon.
Let's talk about Leon. I don't know. You guys seem way more peaceful than I was. I had tears in my eyes. I really did. I turned it, like as soon as the goal, I turned it off, and my brother turned it on. I was like, "Why did you turn it on?" Turned it back off. I had tears in my eyes for a bit. I was just in awe. It's just in penalty. I think it's just you just feel it more, and you're just like I could feel my chest like my heart was pounding like every time whenever guys stepped up. But I don't know. I'm still trying to
at the time, I felt a lot more devastated than I do now. I was right behind the goal. It was a pretty crazy. I can get into as much detail with this as you guys want. I mean, about being there in the stadium. It was a lot more devastating in the moment than I'm feeling about it now, and I've had some time to reflect on it. Normally I sit on the sideline to try to get as close to midfield as I can, but that wasn't an option this time. I was just looking to get into the stadium any way I could. And even when I got there, the seats that I had purchased were El Numerado was not being respected. Like people were just getting in and sitting wherever they could. And I was like, well, the Leon fan section, which I don't normally sit in because I don't want to be jumping and screaming the whole time. I want to watch the game in as much of an analytical way as I can. But I was like, well, in this instance, my best option is probably just to go up with them. And I did. And then the PKs ended up being taken right behind on the goal we were were all sitting right behind. So that made it even. I mean, we were right above it. It was it was very intense, and I mean, that stadium, that's the Estadio Jalisco. I'm sure it's been that full before, but it hadn't been that full in a very, 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 very long time. I mean, it's the second largest stadium in Mexico, but most of the time it isn't even a quarter full. And this time it was, you could actually feel the concrete moving under you because of how all the jumping and down and screaming and everything. And I was actually a little bit concerned, like, they've never had to deal with this many people in this old building. They haven't had to deal with this many people in this old building for a long time. I don't know if they've renewed the safety codes on this place. Like, is it gonna fall down? Like, I'm not sure. I was legitimately concerned about that. It's an old stadium that hasn't been that full
in a while.
In a while, to say the least. Luckily, it didn't. The atmosphere was certainly electric. Yeah. The Atlas fans came out. They came out and did their part. I got nothing against the Atlas fans in any of this. It's not their fault, and it's not their fault. They shouldn't be criticized for enjoying this moment. It's not about them. Yeah, they did their part, and the vibe was exactly what you would expect it to be when the stakes are that high. Yeah. So it was intense. I mean, I wasn't dealing with it as well in the moment as I am now, Gotti. So yeah, I mean, I something. I get where you're coming from.
you know something? I don't remember a liguilla where home field advantage, or at least closing at home, played such a big role in the two legs. I really don't remember because it was. I mean, when we were at Tigres, their crowd was a huge advantage to them. When we came back, it was a huge advantage to us.
Yeah.
And now you see what happened with Atlas, where their crowd was a huge advantage to them in winning the title. But I don't remember a liguilla where it was like this before, where like you knew if you had the home crowd behind you, you were probably most likely going to win.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd say the home field advantage was as much a factor. I mean, the fans were just as much on top of Leon as Atlas's high pressure. Yeah. I mean, both of those were equal contributing factors that led to Leon's park the bus method, which we can get into in a bit, being broken down.
I think there you go. Sanaku commented, shout out to Sanaku. He said, it does hurt, but I'm glad we made it to another final and to show everybody that Leon is still a title contender and gives us another shot for the CONCACAF.
Yeah, this will make 4 straight appearances in the CONCACAF.
Definitely.
And it looks a lot easier this time around.
Yeah, which we should get into in a bit.
Yeah. Let's get over this mountain first. Carlos, do you by chance have the lineup for the second leg, or no?
I can just bring it out. Yeah.
Okay. So the lineup, we had Cota in goal. We had Tecillo, we had Ramiro, Barreiro, Avion, pretty much the same back line that ended up being the finishing one in the first game. Colombato, Jefecito, Omar Fernandez, Mena Meneses, and Davila. I guess, what do we think going into this final with this lineup?
It's the best 11 he could have presented. I mean, I don't think the absence of Mosquera made a big difference there. He would have made no difference, actually. But yeah, I mean, it's our best 11. I mean, I don't know if I would have changed anything or tweaked anything. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's our best 11 with or without Mosquera. And I don't think that's a particularly hot take. Otherwise, I would have prefaced it by saying hot take, but I don't think it's a hot take. I think that's our best 11 with or without Mosquera. Mosquera is just he's a good guy to have on the field. Like he's a good presence. I feel like he's one of the leaders on the team, and so it's nice to have him on the field if he's healthy. But just speaking in football terms, I think that is our best 11.
Yeah.
Cota's performance.
Oh,
he was the MVP for sure. I mean, it's not going to be looked on that way because it went to PKs and he didn't save a single one. The only miss went off the post, whereas his counterpart on the other side saved 2. So it's not going to look like that in the end. But I think, we wouldn't have gotten to that point without him.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. What a goalie.
What a goalie.
I'm glad we have him. I'm glad we have him because he was our MVP for the series. But I think for the season, I would probably name somebody else.
Okay.
Oh yeah. No, I'm just talking about in this game.
Yeah. Just this game, it was Gotan.
He was the MVP in the game. Although I would have liked to have William Yarbrough in goal for the PK shootout.
Can you sub in?
He's a better PK saver, or at least he historically has been.
So what were we thinking at halftime at this point? We're 0-0. We obviously saw Quinones with my heart stopped for a second, thinking, it's over. What were our thoughts at halftime? I think for me, I tweeted that it was very uneasy. Half for Leon, very few opportunities that were created in the last attacking third. Atlas honestly has been going for a goal at this point because con la gente, con el ambiente, a goal is just like a motivating factor for them. So what were we thinking at halftime? Like, were we feeling like uneasy like I was, or?
I mean, I was actually feeling feeling a lot better at halftime than I was before the game started with the 0-0, because it's like, well, we're 90 minutes away. We got a lead. We're 90 minutes away from getting this done. A 0-0 will do it, and now we're 45 minutes away. I didn't like the style that they came out with, the defensive style that they came out with. I was like, look, guys, you have 90 minutes left to go. Come out and play the way you did at home. Take it to them and give it everything you got for 90 more minutes. It's just one more game. There's nothing after this, regardless. So, and they hadn't. But I was like, well, 45 down, still 0-0. Darn it, they might just get it done. That's what I was thinking at the time. Or I was thinking, okay, they got through 45 minutes, no damage done, and they didn't really exert that much energy. Maybe now they'll really go for it in the second half, which they didn't. But that was what I was thinking at the time.
Yeah, same here. I thought if it was important to get through the first 30 to 35, and I figured if we get through these first 30, 35, maybe Atlas will open up a little bit. But even despite getting past those 30 to 35 minutes, we still couldn't get a shot on target on them in the first half. We didn't get any clear chances besides that shot that Davila had that went a little bit wide. But even like throughout the rest of the game, we didn't really have anything that was dangerous on their goal. And I think that was the most concerning part for me going into the second half.
Definitely.
They weren't really looking for it, though. That was a more frustrating thing to me.
That was frustrating.
They weren't looking for it. I mean, I think there's no way they weren't aware of all the narrative that was going against them, and how the Federation wanted Atlas Campeón, the refereeing committee wanted Atlas Campeón, all the neutral fans who didn't have a dog in the fight wanted Atlas Campeón. That had to be getting to them a little bit. Holan maybe thought his best chance was just to sit back and defend. I disagree with that approach, but I guess I can understand that point of view where it's like, just don't give them a chance to do any damage to us. That's our best chance here. We've got a lead, and just don't give them a chance. But eventually, we're not a team that's built to succeed that way.
Yeah.
And eventually, it broke down.
And we saw that goal coming. Like, I was like, it's gonna come in anytime now. And then boom, I was like, I knew it. Like, did we not know that was coming? And like, that was what was more frustrating to me, that I saw it coming and I could not see like how they did not react differently. And then there's the offside discussion.
What do you guys think?
I think he was off.
You think he's off?
I think he was off.
I think he was off very slightly, but
there was
I
no
mean,
like he didn't go see it or anything like that. That was the controversy about it. You know.
Oh, there's plenty of controversial calls in this game. That penalty against Angel Mina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should have a break one.
Yeah.
That was that. Obviously we had substitutions, Gigliotti and Montes, which Omar Fernandez came subbing off, as well as Santi Colombato. Colombato subbing in twice now. And then Omar Fernandez has never played 90 minutes. I mean, he always gets subbed off, right?
Yeah, I don't know why he keeps doing that.
Yeah.
I think in the playoffs it's a little different. I feel like Omar Fernandez struggles a little bit in the playoffs because they're really bodying him up. He's a really small guy, and he gets bodied up a lot. I don't know if like Holan feels that he's a risk in the midfield. Like if he loses the ball by getting bodied up, he might lose the ball and we might get counterattacked. But I feel like that's probably the only reason I can come up with. Because I don't see anything wrong with his game. I mean, he's a great offensive threat. It's just that his physical isn't really there against these defenders who are high pressing all game long. And I don't know. That's just my take on it.
Yeah. He's got a slight figure. You know, if he were a couple inches taller, you know, he might be playing in Europe. That's probably why, like, I mean, he's got that kind of skill. I think he's an incredibly skilled player, one of the most skilled players we have, but he does get beaten up a little bit by those bigger defensive mids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And still though, I don't think that's reason enough to take him off as early as he's been taken off. I think I don't know, for some reason, Holan just doesn't trust him for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And I disagree with that. But,
yeah,
you know, it would be one thing if the options we had off the bench were fully fit and match ready 100%. And, like, think of having Chapo Montes, Fernando Navarro, Elias Hernandez coming off the bench. Those are amazing bench options if they're all completely healthy. But none of them have been completely healthy for most of the season.
Yeah.
So I don't know if bringing on one of them for Omar is always the best idea. I don't know.
Yeah. Then a little bit later, we saw Ramiro come off and Olvi subbed in. I was really frustrated with this sub, but at the same time, I think I did come to realize that Ramiro was slowly falling apart this time around versus the first leg. So when Osvi subbed in, I was kind of, I mean, I was very like, oh no, like, you know, but I didn't think he did as bad as I had thought. So obviously we had another switch in the defensive line. Also, we had another heart-stopping moment where we almost got scored on and thought it was all over. Then we had, obviously, like Louis mentioned, Elias subbing in, Meneses coming off. Meneses getting a red card, not wanting to leave, which was another. I mean, this game had a little bit of everything. Then we went into extra times, and obviously with that ended in penalties. What did we like about penalties? Did we have anybody who shouldn't have stepped up at that point in time, or were the five that were supposed to be there the five that were supposed to be there at that point in time with all the?
I don't know. I would have had Ormeño earlier in the shootout.
I don't know.
When the guy,
I would have chosen the same guys.
You would have chosen the same guys?
I would have chosen the same guys, yeah. I mean, they're veterans. I see why Holan would go for them because they're all veterans. They're all battle tested. Yeah, I mean,
but when Ormeño was tied for the goleador de la liga, I mean, how many of those were PKs? The guy knows what he's doing taking PKs.
Yeah, that's true.
I would have had him early. That was the only change I would have made.
Who are you taking out then instead of, or like having Ormeño and taking out who?
Maybe Ormeño before Navarro. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was very nervous when Elias stepped up first, and I was like, "Oh, Elias, you have to set the tone.
No.
That's my dude." I was like, "Oh my god!" And then he made it, and I did feel more confident. I was like, "Okay, like we got this." And then Navarrito's goal was stopped, and then I felt
Yeah, man, Kota got a few hands on a few balls, but like I guess they were just too strong. I actually thought he blocked
Yeah.
one.
me too.
Can't remember. I think it was like the third shot. I thought he blocked that one, and it ended up going in. Man. Ah. Oh well.
Obviously,
Yeah,
Mena made his
and
goal.
someone with the laser in the stands, like shining in the faces of all of our takers and on Kota. Like I feel like the visiting team should have the option to refuse to continue the shootout until the laser is found. You know, like that's ridiculous.
So Mena always had his goal, which I think I was more nervous for Mena in this penalty shootout than Chapo Montes. That's my personal opinion. And yeah, I mean, Camilo stopped the second goal. Obviously, to mention Gigliotti when he got booked. I mean, honestly, we played like if we still had 11. I didn't notice that much of a difference.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
good.
Well, those who always say when they put Gigliotti in, it's like playing with 10. They were proven right, at least in this instance. I've never been in agreement with that.
Yeah.
With that point of view, but to have your target striker be the one sent off, at least your defense probably isn't going to suffer that much. And I thought they created a little bit more than they had previously with him out, which was strange. But yeah, obviously they couldn't get that much going. But I felt like they were surprisingly dangerous in the attack with playing with 10 in extra time, and credit to them for holding off for 30 minutes extra time playing with 10. I thought that was admirable. There were a lot of things to admire about the performance in this game, despite everything.
And then that opportunity that Elias had in extra times. Anyways, I'm gonna stop reminiscing on the hubiera and it should have and it could have and all that stuff. Point is, we lost in penalties. Atlas won after 70 years, which is a long time, a very long time. So obviously they were gonna celebrate to the max. And like Louis said, we turned the page to a new book and a new chapter in the next couple of weeks. So definitely. So any takeaways from this season? Holan, what do we, we have to grade him from an A to an F. What's his grade for this season?
Ooh.
Man, I gotta give this season I'm gonna give it an A-.
A-.
Really? I'll go B+. I'll go B+, just because it wasn't like the regular season itself wasn't as great as our finish. I feel like Holan, we talked about on the pod many times about how we didn't like the way he used his bench, about some of the substitutions he was making, about some of the lineups he was putting out there. So yeah, I mean, at the beginning of the season, I would have given him like a low C, but I think he made up for it at the end of the season, especially by getting us to a final. So I'll go with a B+.
B+. And Louis said A-. Yeah, I mean, I could.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead, Louis.
Just from how we started to where we ended up, being like I said at the beginning, being favored in a final after. Yeah, I would say after those games in the regular season, we had home against San Luis and against Pumas. After that loss at home against Pumas, I think we would have been happy to just get a home game in the repechaje, and then to go from that to being favored in a final. In the first season of Holan, who not only never coached in Liga MX, never played in Liga MX, never played football professionally. Like,
Yeah.
The guy had everything stacked against him. We all thought, well, what the narrative around him was like, he could eventually get used to the league and be good, be a strong coach in this league, but it's going to take him a while. There's going to be an adaptation period, and his adaptation period lasted only a few weeks, and then he started rattling off wins, and then look, before you know it, we're a high seed, where we qualified directly to the Liguilla, and then before you know it, we're in the final and favored to win it. I mean, it's just way too much positive surrounding Holan and surrounding this team for me to call it anything less than an A-.
Javi, welcome to the pod. We're talking about Holan's season from an A to an F. What would your grade be for him this season?
I caught the last thing of what Carlos said, and I'm like in between Carlos and Louis. I think I'm gonna give him an A, not an A plus or minus, just an A, porque nos llevó a una final, and
Oh no! Why, Javi? Why? I think Javi's frozen, guys.
And Cup, he won a title. I mean, he won one title and was a penalty shootout away from another. I mean, that's pretty good. Say what you will about the Leagues Cup, we valued it highly because we were in it.
Carlos,
outside of our own storyline, I don't know how much anyone else valued it, but it's a title, it's a trophy that we won. I mean, not the first trophy, but the second trophy that Holan had to win. The first being the Campeón de Campeones, of course. But the second opportunity, the first real opportunity he had after being with the team for a while to win a trophy, he won. And then he got us to the final subcampeón, another spot in another Boca Champions. I mean, like, there's just so much more positive than negative.
Yeah. Regarding the Liga MX final, think about all the points that we dropped, either at home or on the road. I mean, I'm thinking about that Santos game that we drew on, and I'm thinking about the Tigres game that we had a 2-0 lead on that we dropped. Think about if we had gotten those points, if we had picked up those 3 points, we would have had home field advantage over Atlas, and that would have probably played a big role in winning the title. So, yeah, man, it's just these little things throughout the regular season that I think kind of make me bring them down a grade. These little decisions in the starting 11, not being able to make the correct substitutions, not being able to really motivate the squad to pull out, the victory. And, I think those little points, and there's more than those 2 games. I know I'm missing a couple, but there's more than 2 games where we dropped points that we should have won that would have easily put us in the second position over Atlas.
1 point would have put us in the second position. If one of those losses is a draw, if that Pumas loss, which I feel like was the worst loss of the regular season, if that Pumas loss was a draw, we'd have been in second place instead of third.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree with Carlos.
But it's a game of it's a game of inches,
It is
centimeters at this point. No, I do agree with what Carlos says. I think we have to give him props. We have a Leagues Cup. We have made it to a final. Like Carlos said, we haven't had the best seasons. Like, we're like, oh my God, we're on fire. We didn't land on the table bad either. I think we're talking about futbolísticamente, post Ambriz era, Holan coming in, a guy, with a background and primarily in hockey and everything, but a very quiet coach on the sidelines, very observant and everything like that. And I agree with Carlos. I think props to him making it this far, taking us this far. Definitely questionable substitutions, timings as well. And I mean, it's not bad. I mean, I guess it's just, to me, overall just frustrating because we were so close, so close, and it is what it is. So that's just what I think. Anything else that we have to talk about in regard to this second leg final that we lost?
The worst part wasn't inside the stadium. It was afterward. I still had to be in Guadalajara until the next day, and the celebrations in the streets afterward were unbearable and inescapable. I went from one side of the city to the I was staying in a different area of the city than where Estadio Jalisco is, but there was just no escaping the celebration, whether it be right outside the stadium and the entire way to the other side of the city where I was staying, and then out on the streets outside where I was staying. It was just people celebrating incessantly and honk, 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 people driving by, all that. Just like, that was the most agonizing part of it. It wasn't the moment of losing it in the stadium itself. It was that after. Yeah. And even the next day when I was still in Guadalajara, I stayed over the night. It was too late to come back to Guadalajara the same night. So I just it was more than the actual the fourth penalty that actually lost it for us. That's not going to give me nightmares. It's going to be the aftermath.
Definitely. I feel bad for you, Louis. You literally were like, I had to live through the path. Oh, yeah, you did. I feel so bad. But Senaku.
Well, and flying in that morning, also flying in that morning from Portland after losing the MLS Cup on penalties also. Yeah, that was
back-to-back pain.
Not good times. Yeah.
Senako agreed with Louis. He said, I agree with Louis. Ormeño should have started or to be in Navarro's spot. So switched out. Navarrito needs to cut that hair this next season. I'm over it.
I know. I agree.
Reporteame said going from Fuera Holan to the final means that he was La Vara Muy Alta for the second season, but maneuvering the Ambrí style towards vertically on offense is in a hybrid and attractive style.
Yeah, I remember first half of the season, a lot of people were calling for his head, and now towards the end, people are giving him an A. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like this loss may be like a blessing in disguise, because if we had just win everything, guys are just going to get comfortable. They're going to want to leave. They're going to want to feel like, okay, we already won the Liga MX, let's move on. But this gives guys a sense of revenge. They want revenge. And you know how they always say el fútbol da revanchas. I feel like a lot of these guys look forward to that. And I hope some of these guys whose names are floating around about leaving can come back, like Meneses and Davila.
Yeah, and especially
they deserve
our
it.
front office. Our front office, same thing. At this point, we can count on our front office to be hungry for more after something like this, as opposed to being more, being less reticent to break down the team. I mean, they've already worked very, very hard to keep this team together at the expense of even starting the building on the new stadium, because they want to, it's all the same money. And they want to make sure that money is invested in keeping the team competitive, this version of the team competitive, for as long as possible. But do you think maybe winning another title, they'd be a little more willing to tear it down? And they're not going to now. I mean, this hurts them, and they want the revanche as much as the players do. I agree with you, Carlos. I think, especially in a season where like the title that we won exactly a year ago, that was just the culmination of such a long cycle of success. And we were the best team by far all season, and it would have been a massive disappointment not to get it. And just like it was a massive disappointment when we won 12 straight games and then lost the final at home to Tigres. Same thing there, just a massive disappointment. This was not a massive disappointment, especially in a final we weren't necessarily expected to be in. But then once they got there, they were like, well, we might as well get this, and then not getting it. I think for a final we weren't. That's not a massive disappointment to have lost. Perhaps more of a blessing in disguise than those other finals we were wholeheartedly expected to win.
Yeah, definitely. Also, shout out to Mena that has been hugely criticized in the past Liguillas. And this Liguilla, he has definitely stepped up to the plate. So.
Top scorer in the Liga by quite a wide margin.
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
Yep.
El Ángel del Gol. The Cruz Azul didn't want him. Just want to throw that out there. Obviously, we have rumors about everything. Nacho Ambriz is the new coach for Toluca. Rumors about him wanting Meneses. Do you guys think he's gonna want other players on our squad at this point?
There were rumors that he
Yes.
wanted basically the whole team to join him in Huesca, and nadie lo peló. So, like, I don't see why they will now. And, it's one of those, I think, hizo nieve de que sabor la quiere kind of situations. Like, I don't think, I mean, maybe, I think somebody like Navarro, who clearly has struggled to get back into Holan's plans coming back from his injury. I think he's far more likely to look for greener pastures where he can be taken more into consideration than Meneses would be.
Well, I'm one to believe that we could make a nice dime if we sell Meneses, since it was said that he didn't want to be here anymore, and it's supposedly rumored that Ambriz is asking for him. We could make a good check from selling him there. And that way we can invest in other players. I would think mainly a right back. But I think that's maybe the only player that I would let go, just because it was said he didn't want to be here, and I think at this point Toluca's willing to buy up what they need because they believe so much in Ambriz because of what he did with Leon for so many years, and they just let go of Sambuesa, who had a huge salary. So.
And also, you realize Ambriz probably did not. He was not in his plans to use Sambu, so that can also take in consideration. With Sambu ended up, honestly, I thought he was going to end up at Mazatlan or something. So when I saw like Sambuesa to San Luis, I was like, oh, okay, like that man's going to play until he's 40.
That's basically the same thing as Mazatlan. I mean, in terms of those teams are about on the same level. Like those teams, neither one of those teams is going to be competing seriously for a title next season. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Sambuesa's playing for the love of the game at this point.
I'm telling you, he's going to play till he's 40 or something. Like he's just not.
Yeah, but he's not looking to go out as a winner if he's going to San Luis. Nor would he be if he went to Mazatlan. But yeah, I mean. At this point, I trust that the front office, whatever they let go, they are going to bring in something of equal or greater value to the team. I have to believe in that. I have to trust that. And that's what I'm more concerned with. I'm more concerned about who's coming in than who's going out. But I think just like they have these past few seasons, they're going to conservar la base pretty much. One or two guys, I mean, Gigliotti's already gone. And I think one or two other guys, whether it be Meneses or Navarro or whoever else has been rumored, even Chapito has been rumored. I really don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah.
But I mean, there've been rumors around him too. I don't think he's going anywhere. One or two more guys might go, but I think it's mostly going to stay the same. And whoever does go, I trust they're going to bring in something of equal or greater value. That's just they especially with another Conca Champion starting up so soon. And this time the Conca Champions is going to finish all in one semester. Before it was spread out over 2 seasons, but this time it's all going to be in one.
Yeah.
For this upcoming season, this upcoming transfer window, they need to flesh out the team, and I trust that they will.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess moving along, Louis, right before the podcast started, we were talking about CCL. Talked a little bit about what that draw was about.
Well, big difference for Leon this time compared to the last 2 editions, where Leon was the lone Liga Mekisai in pot 2. This time they were in pot 1, which assured that they would not face in the first round MLS opposition. Obviously, you can't face Liga MX opposition in the first round regardless, but You are guaranteed to face MLS competition if you were in pot 2, based on performances in previous editions from that spot in the rankings. But this time they were firmly in pot 1, and they will face Guastatoya, which was the last team to qualify for the CONCACAF Champions League. The lowest placed team in the CONCACAF League that gets a spot. So they are officially the lowest ranked team in the entire CCL qualification. Guastatoya, based in Guatemala, obviously about an hour and a half outside Guatemala City. Not a side, I don't even think they have social media. It's not a side that brings a lot of reflectores to the table here. Not a side that a lot of people know anything about. Certainly not a team to underestimate, but also not a team that's going to bring much fight to the table, more than likely. But beyond facing Guastatoya in the first round, should Leon take care of business against them, they would not face another Liga MX side in the bracket until the final. All 3 of the other Liga MX sides in the bracket, being Cruz Azul, Santos Laguna, and Pumas, are all on the other side of the bracket, which means Leon would not face any of them until the final. And interestingly, should Leon take care of business and should Seattle Sounders take care of business in their opening round, it would be a rematch in the quarterfinal of CONCACAF Champions League, of the League's Cup final between Leon and Seattle Sounders, which for me is about as spicy, juicy of a matchup as you can have in a CONCACAF Champions League or any international tournament in CONCACAF. Me being from Portland and a Portland Timbers fan, I cannot stand the Seattle Sounders. That has gone on record many times here, and so I'm greatly looking forward to that. They would, and then they would possibly face Colorado Rapids or New York City FC in the semifinal, and then probably a Liga MX opponent, more than likely a Liga MX opponent in the final. But looking at that bracket that was just up on the screen, for my money, Leon will never have a more straightforward path to a CONCACAF Champions League final than they will here in 2022. They're unlikely to have such a forgiving path to a final in this tournament as they do now, and it's time to take advantage of that. Our front office has to know that too. Holan has to know that too. Looking at these opponents, these possible opponents, they got to be looking at that and absolutely licking their chops about this path to the final. So I can only sincerely hope that they give this the necessary priority, the priority that it deserves for Leon to win its first CONCACAF Champions, or to at least make a deep run. But I mean, there's never going to be a better chance than there is now to win a CONCACAF Champions, and they got to know that, and I hope they take advantage of it, because what better way to get immediate revancha from a disappointing end to a really, really good season than getting a CONCACAF Champions, qualifying for a Club World Cup. I mean, that would be just amazing.
Yeah. So, Guastatoya, I think that's how you pronounce it. They do have a Twitter.
Guastatoya, yeah.
Yeah, Guastatoya. They have 14,000 followers now. I know some fan pages that have more followers than that. But let's not underestimate these guys. Let's not underestimate anyone, and let's not start. You know, like we like to say, hay que tener los pies en la tierra, because this is the CCL. We haven't had much luck, no matter the opponent, no matter how confident we were going into it.
Yeah.
As we were many times.
Yeah.
Let's keep our feet buried in the ground. Take a game by game, half by half, minute by minute,
second by second,
second by second. I mean, let's just respect our opponent. Make sure, obviously, we're the favorites here going in, and we do have a pretty easy road, I guess, to the finals if we can get past a couple of MLS teams. But yeah, it looks like we do have a pretty easy road. Senaku said, should we focus more on CONCACAF instead of league?
Oh yeah, Louis.
And I think we can focus on both. I think we have, if we can maintain the basic players, and if we can bring in more players, we can. Yeah. We have the bench for it. I think we have the bench for it this time. So I think we can actually do both.
I mean, everybody's got to stay healthy. Everybody's got to stay healthy. Like, I think if everyone who's on our roster now stays healthy, I think we've got the squad now for 2 tournaments. It's a big if though, but they shouldn't be thinking that way. They got to bring in two refuerzos de peso.
Yeah.
Somehow they have to find a referente at center forward. Whether that person is already on the roster in Ormeño, like he could easily have a much better second go around than his first one, and maybe we don't need to bring in someone from the outside to get a referente at centro delantero. I think they could use a little more depth at the center back. I just don't, not sure how much our center back rotation to hold up through 2 tournaments. And in
Louis.
Best case scenario, Ormeño pans out more than the second season than he did in his first, and they can focus on the center back and the outside back positions. But they have to find a way to fill out those positions.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of.
But I'm just looking.
Groove. Go ahead, Louis.
But I'm just looking at this bracket, and you look at Pumas on the other side, who has to face Saprissa in the first round. I could easily see Saprissa knocking Pumas out in the first round.
Not
like
if it was
Saprissa is probably.
Lately.
I don't know. There's no guarantees that Pumas comes back. There's no guarantees that Pumas comes back with the same kind of energy and resolve that they had finishing out this last season. I could totally see them coming out and flopping to start the season. And Saprissa, I would say, outside of Liga MX and MLS, the next best team in CONCACAF is Saprissa, and that's going to be an interesting series. And then Cruz Azul and Santos Laguna both have to play Canadian sides. They're going to have to travel away to Canada in February to play games up there. And then if they both win, they'll have to play each other in the quarterfinal. So, I mean, they're going to get beaten and battered on their way to the final. Any 3 of those teams, if they keep advancing, they have a much tougher path. León I'm not saying they can coast, but they definitely have an easier path. So this is the time to take advantage. I'm not going to say that we should prioritize it to the point of not focusing at all on Liga MX, because lo que hay que ganar es la Liga Nacional always. But this is the time to go for the Conca Champions more than ever before.
Yeah, I think going back to Pumas and what you were saying about Pumas, I think for them, if I were Pumas, I would concentrate more on getting into repechaje in Liga MX, because obviously it worked out very well for them, rather than focus on 2 tournaments, because I don't think they have el plantel for 2 tournaments. So I would probably put most of my eggs in the Liga MX basket than in the CCL basket, because like you said, it's a tough road for them with having other Liga MX sides on their side of the bracket. So yeah, I mean, I honestly don't think Pumas are going to get past Saprissa either. They are a good team, and I don't know if Pumas are going to live up to what they did this league. I think it was a fluke, to be honest.
But then again, I feel like I've always said, Pumas is always fluking all the time. But I feel like this time around, I don't know, it was a more encaraban más type of Pumas than I've seen in the past. So, I mean, I was intrigued. I mean, I had Lilini's head on the chopping block every single time, and here he is, still standing strong after all that. So I think definitely if, for example, that game was probably in the momentum, I could see Pumas winning. I don't know. It's just, those type of situations. But obviously it's the beginning. They're kind of still getting into, at that time, getting into Liga MX and then, starting this new tournament. So I'm not sure. I mean, I guess we'll have to see. I think what Louis is saying, I can see that it's an easier path on Leon's side than the other Liga MX side. And I think the Leon players, I think they struggle mentally with they're just super passive and they think, the game's won already. And clearly we've seen at CCL that it's not. So I'm just hoping that, like what Carlo was saying, they just focus one game at a time to get through, because it is a little bit more tougher on the other side of the Liga MX teams versus us. So definitely
now,
a good.
I don't know. I don't know if I'll be able to make the trip to Guatemala. I do have a friend in Guatemala City. Guastatoya is a town about an hour and a half from Guatemala City. So if there's any possibility of making that trip, that'd be a lot of fun. It's certainly, in terms of traveling to Central America from here, or the Caribbean or Canada, it's probably one of the more possible trips to make. So hopefully it's possible. I'm going to look into
We
it.
have friends
That'd be a lot of
everywhere.
fun. That'd be a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna. It'd be a great excuse to make my first ever trip to Central America too. So hopefully it works out.
Hopefully it works out. Guys, did we wrap up everything we needed to wrap up today? Any loose strings before?
I think so. I think there'll be plenty of time to preview the beginning of our next campaign. Hopefully, I'll see you there at Estadio Caliente in Tijuana exactly 1 month from today, Carlos.
Yes, sir. Finding it out.
Where we our first activity in the Clausura 22 will be in Jornada 2 as opposed to Jornada 1. Both Leon and Atlas getting the first jornada off, although it's not really much of a break because then they have to play a doble jornada that nobody else has a few days later. So it's not much of a break, but that'll be interesting. First home game of the year against Atlas.
Yeah. Hey, I'm just glad Tigres quedó en el pasado this liguilla. I think that's what I'm
There's a lot of movements going on right now.
You saw Angulo already went to Tigres. He just went with Atlas, and now he's with Tigres.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of movements. It'll be interesting to see what
I think it's a lot more likely that the Atlas roster gets dismantled than the Leon roster.
Yeah, they did what they had to do for Atlas. Now just
move on.
Back to normal. Back to reality.
Back to reality. So I think we're gonna wrap up this episode. Obviously not on the very happiest of notes, cheesing, but I think post a couple of days after Sunday's loss and Atlas winning, I think we kind of are, landing on a good note in an overall season of what Leon did under Holan's season, and we're hoping with high expectations and coming into next season with CCL and obviously Liga MX and, like Carlos said, La Revancha. So yeah, guys, anything you guys want to say before we take off?
Our next episode will be episode 100. So I don't know if you guys want to wait till like the actual season starts for us to do it, or if we want to kind of burn it before, like with a preview. I kind of want to wait. I kind of want to wait because I want to have everyone here.
Yes.
To kick off the season, but I don't know. We'll talk about it.
Definitely. Louis, anything you want to say to everybody?
Hello, Louis.
Louis.
Is he frozen?
Lots to look forward to. Like, this stings, but I mean, I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. Can you hear me?
I'll hear you.
There's lots to look forward to with this team, and lots of teams would like to be in the position that we're in, playing in finals regularly. So, we can count our blessings with this team. There's lots of teams that have a lot more pressure that aren't getting the job done like we are. So I'm happy with where we are, and I think there's a lot more to be done, and it's coming up soon. It's not really a long break before we're back at it again. So from now until then, I'm thinking about what's coming up and starting to forget about what already happened.
Good.
Yep.
Good.
Cool.
Shout out to Denise No ser fiera es un orgullo. See you guys.
Yeah, thank you to everybody who was on the chat this season. It's been a long season. Hopefully next season we'll have a better outcome. But yeah, you guys just tune in. Make sure to follow us on Twitter for updates on whenever we're gonna go back live. I think it'll be like, is it mid-January? I think mid-January.
Yeah,
So yeah, just make sure to follow us, keep updated, and we'll see you guys next season, episode 100.
Definitely. Thank you guys for watching. 'Tis the season, episode 99, end of the season of the Lions Den podcast, and we'll come back, like Carlos said, next season with a new season podcast with lots of good content. And like Carlos said, don't forget to follow us and let us know if you're excited about the new season. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see you guys next year on 2022.